Talking about a good time. We're chasing every moment, all the good nights. We're always looking out and it's a good life. We go around the world for a show. Oh, oh, oh. And it's a good time. We're chasing every moment, all the good nights. We're always looking out and it's a good life. No, we are never letting this go. Oh, oh,
I hear thunder, I hear lightning, I hear wonders, and everybody wanna go, but no one really cares to know. I see marvels, I see titans, and some troubles that everybody has to face, that no one really can erase, and they hide away from it. A part of you is always standing in the rain, but I was never your boy.
Right, I've tried and I've tried, but I can't put it off any longer. It's time. I'm heading to the theatre. I'm feeling kind of, sort of calm-ish, resigned is probably a good word, to the terror that's about to happen. I'm doing alright. I'm doing alright. Yeah, I'll keep telling myself that. Alright then, I'll see you on stage. Bye!
Right, hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming along. Good. Hello, how are you? What's your name? Raya? Baya? Wow. I'm not going to ask that again. Right, how are we doing? Has anybody bought a caravan? Please, just an impulse purchase with a, £23,000, I'll have two. No, not yet. You will. You will. I tell you, you'll get sucked in. It's quite bizarre. So, next up we have a lady who's a Europe travel blogger. She goes by the name of Wandering Bird. That's not her name. Her real name is Catherine Bird. So I'll see what she's done there. She's going to tell us all about the do's and don'ts of exploring Europe. You know, if you're thinking, I'm going to head off for the first time, what do I do? She'll tell you. So without any further ado, please welcome onto the stage. She's never lost. She's always exploring. It is, of course, Catherine Bird.
Hi, welcome. I'm Kat. I run the travel blog and YouTube channel Wandering Bird. Just under 2 years ago, we bought our first ever motorhome with absolutely no experience, no research, and no clue what we were doing. We then optimistically took that motorhome to Europe and decided to go off on an exploration. We went through 15 countries, we drove about 30,000 miles, and we made so many ridiculous mistakes I can't even list them all in 30 minutes. But I'm going to share a few of them with you today. We've also, in that time period, we've got rid of our house, we sold most of our possessions, and I quit my job so that we could travel for even longer. So any of you who are looking at buying your very first motorhome or camper van, this could be you in 2 years, homeless and unemployed. So let's start right at the very beginning. Why did we get a motorhome in the first place? Both my husband and I are motorbike riders, and we like to explore different parts of the UK and Europe on the bikes. We also travel with our teenage daughter, and as she's got older, we've had to get hotel rooms and B&Bs for 2 rooms, and it was getting more and more expensive. And then one day we rode past a motorhome with a motorbike on a trailer behind it. And the little light bulb went off. We're like, that's amazing. Why have we never thought about that before? That's the answer to all of our problems. And then we started looking at different motorhomes versus camper vans, and the age-old debate came, do we get a camper van or a motorhome? And I am very firmly in team camper van. I figured if I got a camper van, I would be cool. There's nothing cool about me in the slightest, but I figured with a cute little van, I'd be cool. My husband, who is slightly more practical, reminded me that we would be sharing space with our teenage daughter and our teenage daughter's taste in music. So we got a motorhome. And we decided we wanted an above bed for her, so she had her own little space. We wanted a fixed bed for us, we didn't have to make the bed up every day, and we wanted a dinette area so that we had somewhere we could sit and eat like a normal family. We bought the very first motorhome that we found that was in our price range, which wasn't very big because we didn't want to put a lot of money into this hobby in case we didn't like it. It's weird, we've lived on boats, we've owned boats for 14 years, so we knew we could live in a small space as a family, but for some reason motorhoming had never really sort of crossed our radar. We didn't know very much about it at all. So we bought quite a cheap, quite an old van. This is our first little van, cunningly called Little Ship, because whenever I asked my husband where anything was, he'd say it's on the starboard side. So this is Little Ship, and we got her in May 2017. We took off for Wales pretty much the day after we got her, which I don't advise. If you get a new van of any description, just go down the road a few miles so that when bits break or you don't know how to do things or you realise you've forgotten something, you've only got a little way to go home. But we didn't do that, we headed off to Wales. And to be fair, we had a brilliant time. We spent 4 days down there, the weather was amazing as you can see. And at the end of the 4 days we were sold, we were hooked. Now we spent that time on a campsite, we took our motorbikes and we had a great time. It was on the way back from this trip that my husband casually asked me how I felt about wild camping. As I had no clue what wild camping was, I didn't have particularly strong feelings about it one way or the other. And he explained that it was when you sort of stay in a lay-by or a truck stop for the night, which didn't really appeal to me, I'll be honest. And I decided that was something I never wanted to do because we'd either be arrested or we'd be murdered in our sleep. Fast forward about 6 weeks and I find myself on the M6 bombing northbound to Scotland with nothing booked and nothing planned because we were going wild camping. As a planner, I am a massive planner. This was terrifying to me.
Did you go to the
So we rock up in Scotland and we find ourselves in a lay-by on the banks of Loch Lomond, which is gorgeous. I totally recommend it if you get a chance to do. The whole of Scotland area is beautiful. We were there and we were like, oh, we're in a lay-by. Could we stay here for the night? Maybe this wild camping thing's not such a bad idea. And we were just settling down for lunch and then we see all these signs saying, you need a permit to stay here, thanks very much. Well, we had no idea how to get a permit. It's not that hard, but we had no idea how to do it. So we ran away, being the mature, responsible adults that we were, and we carried on driving into the wilds. We found the next suitable lay-by that we could find. Now there are a couple of things you should really look for when you're trying to find a wild camping spot. First, try and make sure it's not exposed to the elements, especially when it's not particularly nice weather. Secondly, try and make sure that it's not by a main road. Now to be fair to us, the road that we were parked on didn't look particularly busy until it got dark and we discovered that all the big trucks used as a rat run throughout the night. So every 10 minutes this monster thing would come past and shake us. We had the wind going from one side, the trucks from the other side, and to make matters worse, we parked on a hill. Seriously, like the 3 things you should never do if you can possibly avoid it, we did it all in one night. But we weren't murdered and we weren't arrested, so we considered it a grand success. We liked this wild camping malarkey and we carried on exploring Scotland for the next 10 days or so. And the beauty of not having a campsite book we discovered is that when the Isle of Skye was an absolute washout, which it was for 3 days straight, we could then run away and go to John O'Groats, which we did. There we are on John O'Groats. We took our motorbikes with us and we explored by bike and by campervan throughout the whole time. So at the end of this Scotland trip, we'd done about 14 nights in our motorhome. We were therefore hardened professionals, we knew everything about everything, we can definitely take on Europe. We booked the ferry and we went through the whole long list of things that you need to do when you take your van to Europe, including your high-vis jackets, which must be accessible from within your cab. We had the list, we figured we were ready to go. There's one big problem with going across on a ferry and then driving through Europe, is that you pass hitchhikers. And we just got off the ferry, about maybe gone an hour or 2 down the road. We're heading for Italy, we're going to the Italian lakes. We passed these 2 young hitchhikers, they were maybe 18, 19, and we stopped, as you do, because we had space in the back of the motorhome, and they got in and explained that they were trying to get back to their grandmother's birthday the next day. I learned 2 very important things from these hitchhikers. One is that we are now forbidden from picking hitchhikers up ever again, because we drove 5 hours in the wrong direction to take them to their grandmother's front door and make sure that they got there safely, which I don't think is the whole point of hitchhiking, but hey, that's what we did. And the second thing we learned is that there is an air in the French Alps at the foot of Mont Blanc with a cable car that takes you most of the way up the mountain of Mont Blanc. It's called the Aiguille de Midi. And this is us camped in the air. If you don't know what an air is, it's like an approved motorhome or campervan stop. They have them all throughout Europe. And you can stay there for a few euros for a night. Some of them have got facilities. This one had waste disposal but not fresh water. A lot of them have both, some of them have none at all. But we stayed there and we decided we were going to get up at sunrise the next morning and go up the mountain. So we rock up at the foot of the mountain and we're in our jeans and our t-shirt and our trainers because it's August and we're going to Italy. It was only when we got to the cable car and we realised everyone's in their big winter coats and their hats and their scarves that we kind of twigged it might be a bit cold at the top of the mountain, even in August. It really was. So we sort of slunk back to the van and put some more clothes on. What we didn't bring with us, and something that we now always carry, is winter gear, even in summer, because we always tend to find ourselves going up mountains. The point of this was that if we had a campsite booked, we wouldn't have been able to be so flexible. And one of the reasons that we love travelling the way that we travel is that we can see cool things like this or hear about stuff like this and detour to wherever we find we want to go. So this was us at the top of the cable car. It's called the Void. They have a glass box bolted to the side of the mountain. And you can literally stand on that. It's a glass panel and it's about 3,800 metres sheer drop down to the valley below. I love it. I love heights. Both of my family, my husband and my daughter were like, you are mad, not happening. Although they did eventually go in it. So that's the Void. If you get a chance to go, go. It's amazing. We did finally make it to the Italian lakes and they really are that beautiful. They're stunning. Don't go in August. That was just a monumental error on our part. The roads are really narrow. There were Vespa drivers everywhere. To be fair, there were just Italian drivers everywhere. We've driven all over the place and with the exception of Paris, the Italians are the scariest that we've found so far. Although we are going to Croatia later in the year, so you know, we'll see what happens by then. We went to Italy and we had to learn about how the Italians do things. So they have airs too, they're called sostas. And again, they're all over the place. The Italians don't like wild camping and such, so they don't allow you to sort of pull into a lay-by or truck stop. What they do is they have these things called sostas and they are, exactly like the airs were, approved parking spaces. Now one thing we learned is because we are a motorhome, we're about 7 metres, and then we have a trailer on back, we're technically about 9.5 metres. So when you're looking for normal parking spaces, generally we're too long. And we had to learn how to find spots that were long enough for us to get in without having to take the trailer off every night and pull it to the side. And you can see us there, we're parked on one side, there's the longer things, and on the stuff on the right is the shorter bands, or so up to about 7-8 metres they can get in there. We learned once, we got in, but you have to reverse out. Once you're in, you're kind of stuck. So we always tried to find a space before we ended up going into the Sosta, because they're normally dead ends. If any of you are going there, there is a good top tip. After Italy, we decided to do a circuitous route back to the UK, and we went to Liechtenstein. If you ever wonder what Liechtenstein looks like, that's it. Weirdly, I didn't expect it to be so mountainous. I don't know why it's in the Alps, that was me being silly, but it's beautiful. And the castle you can see on the left there, every year they invite the residents of Liechtenstein to a garden party in the castle. I want to buy a house just so I can go. It sounds fun. So after Liechtenstein, we headed up into Switzerland. There are 2 ways that you can travel through Switzerland. You can take the main roads. You need a vignette to do that, and you have to buy the vignette before you cross the border. We decided to go the other road and go up the mountain passes. And this is Grimsel Pass, but they pretty much all look the same and they really are that terrifying. And you don't get many motorhomes pulling a trailer going up them. We had a lot of camper vans looking at us like, are you crazy? We're like, maybe, who knows? So we went up and down a few of these, and that's when we discovered that we actually didn't have any brakes. After about the second pass like this, coming down, our brakes had pretty much given up the ghost. And the most scared I've ever been in our motorhome was when we only had a handbrake to slow us down. I'm not even kidding. We also had the trailer was unbraked, and that was sort of pushing us even further down the mountain. That was when we discovered that when the dealer said to us when we bought the van, it's just had a full service, what it actually meant was the brake fluid's not been changed for 10 years and it's mostly water. Luckily, at the bottom of the pass that we sort of screeched down in the end, there was a garage, and we pulled in a cloud of smoke and steam, and everybody in the garage and everyone in the town pretty much came out to stare at us, as you would. And none of them spoke English, which is fine, why should they? But they did all speak the universal language of, oh, yes, oh. And they were brilliant. They could have been absolute swines and made us wait a couple of days till they had time for us, but actually what they did is they stopped what they were working on and they fixed our brakes and they replaced the brake fluid and they set us all off in the road within about 3 hours. They were amazing. And we found that all over the place, that people are generally friendly and very willing to help. They might not speak the same language, but they all have the same problems and they generally know what you're trying to achieve. And that was brilliant. We loved that. So on the same night, the same day that I'd been terrified, we had the best ever night ever possibly in the motorhome. And it was right here. So we went up another pass just like the one you've just seen. And at the top of these passes, they're not lay-bys, they're like gravel sort of parking spaces. The Swiss are quite similar to the Italians in that they don't encourage wild camping. They don't really like it, especially around their major towns. But in the Alps, because it's so quiet, they sort of turn a blind eye to you stopping in the top of these mountain passes. So we pulled in and it was just silent. You had the odd eagle cry and every now and then a vehicle would come past, but these roads aren't particularly busy. And we got our folding chairs out and we had a beer and we watched the sunset over the top of the Alps. And we watched the Milky Way come out. I've never seen the Milky Way in actual real life before. It's amazing. You should all definitely go and see that at some point. And that was the night that I turned to my husband. I was like, how do we do more of this? I don't want to wait till I'm 60. I don't want to wait until, ill health or something stops us doing it. How do we get more adventure in our lives right now? So being us, we spent the whole of the trip back to the UK tossing ideas around and how we could do it. And we eventually decided that his job, he could do a lot of it from the road. My job's the problem, because he couldn't do my job from the road. I used to be an air traffic controller. And they tend to frown on you pulling your headset on in the middle of nowhere. So no, that was the prohibitive reason that we had to go back. We could only take a week or two off at a time. So we decided that if we downsized our life pretty drastically, I could actually give up my job and we could live off his income and travel within that means, which is what we decided to do. Before we did that, we made a list, it was quite a long list, of all the things we wanted to buy or upgrade, and top of that list was get a motorhome that we actually liked that fit how we travelled. The most important thing that was wrong with our old van is that it didn't have any form of lounge area. So if our daughter was using our bed, she couldn't actually sit up in the above cab bed, so she was on our bed, my husband was working from the diner area, I had nowhere to sit in the van except for the front cab seats, and that didn't work for us at all when you've been in there for a few weeks. The other thing was we wanted a van under 3 metres, because that makes a huge difference to the price in tolls when you're going through Europe. Our old van was 3.2, our current one is just under 3, 295. And it's pretty much half the toll cost we found. So those were two important factors that we wanted to change. So we had one last hurrah with Little Ship before we traded her in. And we set off to go anywhere, and we ended up in a lane down the side of Stonehenge. It's called the Drove. Sadly, I think they've now blocked it off the motorhomes, which is really heartbreaking. Although to be fair, the potholes were that big, I don't know how our suspension survived it, but they did. But we got down there totally unplanned, and we camped up for the night, and the next morning we got up to watch the sunrise. And honestly, I have never seen anything in my life like it. It was like nature at its best. The mist rolled in, the sun came over the hill behind it. If you're interested, on the YouTube channel there's an entire video of it and you can just see the mist swirling down the stones. It's beautiful. So that was a really good last hurrah. This is our new van. This is Wander, or Wandering. You see what we did there? And we did a quick jaunt in her down to Cornwall. We didn't mean to go to Cornwall. The problem is we've got so good at not planning stuff now, we actually set off for Norfolk. And we were talking about the adventures we'd had that year, and how we'd gone to John O'Groats. We were like, wouldn't it be cool to go from John O'Groats to Land's End one year? We're like, well, we've just done John O'Groats, why don't we go to Land's End? So literally we turned around at the next motorway junction and headed down to Cornwall with no plan whatsoever. But we survived. And one thing I've noticed, my biggest fear about not having a plan was that we'd be driving around at 2 o'clock in the morning, tears streaming down our face because we couldn't find anywhere to stop. That has never happened in 2 years. Never happened. Once you learn how to find these places, and there are quite a few of them, admittedly there are less in the UK than there are in Europe, you can just travel wherever you like and see how far you get that day and make it up as you go along. So that's what we did. So after our little impromptu jaunt to Cornwall, I handed in my notice from work, we got rid of the house, we spent a month selling all of our stuff, and the day that we handed over the keys to the house, we set off for Europe in our new van. And that night we got to the French-German border. It was Easter bank holiday weekend last year, which I think was at the end of March. It was pretty cold, it was about 4 degrees, so we had the heating on, we just had dinner, we were all snuggled down, and the gas died. I thought, that's weird, the auto changeover hasn't kicked in. How odd. I sort of look at my husband, and he's looking at me. And we have one of those conversations, you know, that parents have when you don't want the kids to know that they're the problem, but you're not really sure what's going on. And I sort of widened my eyes at him. Did you get the gas bottle? And he sort of widens his eyes back like, no, was I meant to? And that's how we ended up on the Easter bank holiday weekend in France with no gas. There was a little bit left in the last bottle from where the auto changeover had happened last time, so we managed to get a couple of coffees out of it, but we spent the entire weekend in pretty much restaurants and cafes and service stations trying to keep warm. Because I don't know if you know, but you can't just go and buy a French gas bottle from one of their petrol stations where they all sell them, or a German gas bottle, because they don't fit the UK gas system. You have to have the right pigtails and the right connections, which we didn't have. Now normally if you're travelling Europe and you know you're going to need new gas bottles, you take these with you, but we weren't planning on doing that, so we didn't have any of that stuff. So we had to wait till Tuesday morning when the local camping shop opened and they gave us the right gear. We've now fitted refillable tanks, which is a lot easier and a lot cheaper, and I highly recommend them. But if you're not using your van that much, then it's sort of 50-50 as to whether the cost is worth it. So we carried on into Germany, and this is us by the castle Neuschwanstein Castle, which is the castle that inspired Walt Disney. It's a stunning go, it's just breathtaking, it's amazing. After that, we headed on into Austria because we realised how close we were to the Austrian border. Again, we hadn't planned to go to Austria. We just saw that we were really close, and we've got a map on the back of our motorhome, and you can put the stickers of the countries that you visited in, and we were like, well, we are this close, let's detour into Austria for lunch, and then we can put Austria on. And then we found this, and we were like, oh, that's pretty. Let's stay there for the night. And we found the most incredible wild camping spot right by the banks of a river. We had a campfire and we sat outside and we could see the stars. It was still chilly because we were in April, but it was just one of those awesome evenings. We had a really good time, and it was only when my husband said to me about 9 o'clock at night, it was pitch black, we just had the little fire going, and he was like, I wonder how many wolves are eyeing us up right now. Then I sort of packed up my chair and headed back into the van quite quickly after that. So after Austria, we went back to the UK because we're still a little bit restricted by our daughter's school holidays, so not for much longer. She's doing her A-levels in about 2 months. So we planned our next big adventure, which was going to be to Norway. And everyone told us how ridiculously expensive Norway was. So we bought a lot of food with us. I'll be honest, we way overpacked. For 3 of us, it was ridiculous. Even though we were going for about 5 weeks, we way overpacked. And we found out that the prices in Norway are roughly equivalent to maybe shopping somewhere like Marks and Spencer's for your general daily grocery. It's definitely more expensive, but it's not horrendous. If you go out to eat, go to a restaurant, go to a cafe, anything like that, that's when it gets crazy. So we took a lot of food. Don't take a lot of alcohol with you if you're going to Norway, because they tax you on importing the alcohol into Norway. We didn't know that until we got to the ferry port. But that was something that there was a lot of people sitting in the ferry drinking as they were about to get on it, so that they didn't have to pay the importation charges. But we took all our thing. One good thing about the new van is we don't have to worry about weight, because it's actually up to 4.2 tons, so we can put a load of gear in there, which is brilliant for us. And we finally made it. We went through Belgium, we did Holland, we did northern Germany, Denmark, where we spent a few days and we had a great time in there. And then we arrived in Norway, and the scenery was just magical. Now we thought we had 3 weeks. We had a week sort of to get there, a week to get back, and 3 weeks to explore it. We figured we'd get all the way up, we'd get to the north, not the North Pole, we don't mean Nord Cap, right at the top of it, the northern point. We didn't even get halfway up. The roads are tiny. You can do the main roads through Norway, but the tolls are ridiculously expensive. I think it was about £200 just to drive back the halfway point to the Norwegian border. So we did the coast road, which was a lot cheaper, less tolls, although we got to go lots of ferries as the islands all connected. But we had loads of stunning views like this. Again, if you ever get a chance to go, go. We had Norway's amazing, because you can basically just pull in wherever. You can see how narrow the roads are. A lot of them are single lanes. And we kept sort of meeting lorries coming the other way, and they're like, well, you reverse, because you're a motorhome and I'm a lorry. And we're like, no, we've got a trailer, you reverse. So there was a lot of sort of standoff. We got quite good at them after a while. We camped up next to a glacier. That was cool, because you could hear the ice cracking as we slept, which was really quite exciting. And then we did Trollstigen. I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called Troll's Ladder, and it's one of the most famous roads in Norway, and it is mental. You've got lorries and coaches and bikes. We did it on a motorbike. You've got cars, you've got cyclists going up it. It's mad. And the road, I don't know if you can see, but they're not quite wide enough for 2 big vehicles to pass. The cars are fine, just, but the motorhomes and the lorries had to wait to go down each bit. It was cracker, it was great. If you get a chance, go. While we were in Norway, this happened. How do you say no to that little face? We've been talking about getting a dog for ages. One of the things I wanted to do when I left work was get a dog because I couldn't do it beforehand. So we picked him up on the way back from Norway. As you can see, he's absolutely traumatised by being in the motorhome. Can't stand it. He's awesome. This is Mac. He's our new adventure puppy, and he comes with us on the motorhome. He stays with us on the boat when we're still on the boat, and he also goes on the back of our motorbikes. We're training him to wear those little dog goggles, but he's not quite there yet. He's still only about 9 months. So he goes in the mesh bag and he sort of sits out and looks at all the world around him, and he's brilliant. So this year we're planning on we're going to France next week. We're going to the Menton Lemon Festival. I don't know if any of you have heard of this, but there's a little village right on the French-Italian border called Menton, and each year around this time they create these enormous structures out of lemons and other citrus fruit, I imagine. It's a huge thing, so we're going to go down and have a look at that, and then we're hoping to do Croatia and Slovenia later on in the year. So that was a quick run through of our madcap adventures over the last couple of years since we got a motorhome. Has anybody got any questions that I can answer whilst I'm here?
I'm wondering with the microphone.
Hello, Roland, I didn't see you there.
Yes, I've been in attention. Has anybody got a question that they would like to ask Catherine? Yes, there's one here. Okay, sir, hello. I'll come behind there if that's okay. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Paul.
Paul.
So we've had a motorhome for a couple of years now, and we are so much looking forward to doing Norway. So, any other advice on Norway? Because we've heard the camping's great, we've heard access to services is great. We've dived in Norway before, and we know that on the coast road, yes, it can be quite restrictive, but we'd also heard that actually services on those coast roads can be few and far between. You know, in terms of fuel and food and stuff like that. So my question just was, how easy did you find?
We never had an issue. There was one time we were near Flam. Have you heard of the railway Flam? Yeah. So we were near there and we couldn't find anywhere to get fresh water from. And what we tended to do was we refill everything when we got to about half. So fuel, gas and water, and we would dispose of our waste whenever we found anything. There are quite a few around. The problem is, as they've done up some services, some of the data that you find on the apps is out of date. So you sort of pull into a service and you're like, oh, actually there's no motorhome service point here. I would say when you get to about half full on anything, refill with stuff. And the other thing is there's an app for when you get on the ferry. I can't remember what it's called. It's on the website if you want to have a look. I've got a whole list of Norway stuff. But if you download the app and you can say how much alcohol and cigarettes and things you can carry on board, and that makes your life a heck of a lot easier when you're going through the customs.
When are you thinking of going?
So it was on the slate for this year,
Yeah.
but we also figured that we'd probably need minimum of 5 weeks to do it.
Yeah.
Minimum. We also had visions of getting up to Nordkapp, but I've kind of said no, that's not going to happen.
No.
So I
What
think
about Cornwall?
Oh, Cornwall's
nice.
brilliant. Yeah, no, we're doing we're doing the road and the Mosel Valley this year, so we're going to go down and see the castles.
Oh, fantastic.
A proper adventurer.
Yeah.
Well done, sir.
Next year for Norway.
Oh, good. I hope you enjoy it.
Good. Anybody else got a question? We're right over there. Couldn't be
It's making
further
you
away. On my way. What do you do about fuel? Do you just constantly
We
keep
fill
an eye
up
on the gauge? Or?
Yeah, when we get about half full, we
Right.
fill it up.
Okay. Sir, what's your name?
Yeah, David.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yes.
What's the question?
Right, my question is that security.
Yeah.
You've obviously got a lot of value with the motorcycles
Yeah.
and things in the motorhome.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that? Because we went to Spain in a car, didn't take our motorhome, but we went to the beach and the car was broken into, and we only left it 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So we are very unsecure what to do.
Once you have that experience, it's sort of, you lose confidence,
Totally.
don't you?
Totally.
So
I
what do
think-
you recommend?
Well, I think it's like if you go anywhere with anything, you sort of can get a feeling for an area and you can get a feeling. I mean, Norway we found ridiculously safe, and we did leave our van in wild camp. I didn't realise that was me up there. We did realise that we left our van in places that we would never dream of leaving it in the UK or Spain, for example, because those places tend to be a little bit less safe in our experience. We always go into a campsite. If we're going off on our motorbikes, we always go into a campsite because we feel that if somebody sees us riding away on our bikes, it's really obvious that we've left the motorhome for our amount of time. So we always book into a site on when we're doing those things. For everything else, we sort of pick and choose where we are. If we're in the middle of nowhere, we might go for a walk. And it depends on how long we go for, depends on how long we leave it. But yeah, we have various security measures on the van. But at the end of the day, if you're not comfortable, I would say go into a campsite. You're always going to be a lot more secure on the site.
Right, there you go. Okay, anybody else got a question before we move on? Ah, there we are over there. Walking miles today. Right, hello, blimey, you've settled in here, haven't you?
You've got a gang, I like that.
What's your name?
Hi there, I'm Christina.
Christina, hello.
We've had a motorhome for about a year and we are just about to head off for 3.5 months to France, Italy, Croatia and Slovenia, so we'll be following you.
Oh, fantastic.
A couple of questions just about Italy.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Kind of roads, heading into towns, would you recommend it in motorhomes?
So, one of the biggest mistakes we ever made with our first van was taking it into Edinburgh. And honestly, because we'd done so much wild camping stuff around Scotland, we hadn't even really twigged that that was a really bad idea. And we found ourselves stuck in the middle of Edinburgh with the trailer on the back, and we couldn't even turn off the street to get out of the way. We avoid cities like the plague now, and we will always, and they always, especially in Europe, they're brilliant. They will always provide some form of motorhome parking near a city and near a train stop or a bus stop. So they really, in Europe, they really encourage motorhoming and camper vanning. And there's so many of them do it. It's like a sort of national pastime out there. There are so many stops, and the facilities are so much better than what we're used to in the UK. I personally try to avoid big towns. We will take them into smaller towns. We use laundrettes and things in smaller towns, so we have taken the motorhome in there. One of the good things about having the bikes is we can park outside and take the bikes in, but we've also used the train and the bus. Does that answer your question? Okay, cool. Did you have a second one?
Go on.
The areas, would you recommend those with kids? Are they safe?
The what side, the air?
Yes.
Yeah, they're brilliant. Really, really good. Because they are approved motorhome spots, you tend to get quite a lot of other motorhomes in there. And to be fair, we leave our motorhome in there quite a lot and go off on the bikes because other motorhomes, I feel, tend to look out for you a bit more. You're not going to get a load of sort of gypsies or migrants perhaps wandering in and causing damage in the same way that you might if you're on your own in a lay-by or a truck stop. So yeah, no, I totally recommend them to kids. A lot of them have play parks, I think we've noticed as well.
I think use your initiative as well. If you turn up and it's completely barren,
Yeah.
and there's no one there, and there's just like glowing eyes in the trees.
Well, that's quite a good thing though, because then you can get through that for kids, they can run right.
You reckon?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Okay, anybody else got one more question before we move on? Yes, there we go. Over here, coming through. Sir, what's your, oh no, who was it? It was you, what's your name?
Keith.
Keith! Oh,
Hi.
this is loud, Keith.
You're part of the reason I'm busily converting 2 ambulances
Oh,
in
okay.
parallel.
Round of applause for that!
Thank you very much.
Right, well done, 2 ambulances. Yeah, not 1, 2.
I've got to ask why two.
Winter and summer.
Okay, I like that.
One's got a lot of glass and one's got a lot of insulation.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
If in doubt, buy 2.
Yeah.
Enjoy Monton. Last time I was there was 1982.
Oh, was it?
We went through Gap and on Trevone and then down into Monton.
Cool.
It's a good place. But my question is about sustainability. You're very young.
Yeah.
What's your long-term plans?
Excellent question. We have invested a little bit of money, what we've got in savings, and we have, I mean, my husband still works, so we haven't finished sort of earning money into the household yet. We couldn't do it if he didn't still have bring in the income. We're not anywhere near that point yet. We hope to invest in other things in the future that would make it so that he can keep up work in effect. But no, at the moment we're just living on one income.
There you go. And also driving a caravan around Europe, driving an ambulance around Europe. Don't you feel slightly guilty every time you drive past an accident or something like that? People looking at you, no, stop! Right, has anybody else got one more question? We've got time for one more question. Any curios? Going once, going twice, gone to the man. Right, well done. Thank you very much, Catherine.
You're very welcome.
Big round of applause, please, for the Wandering Bird. Now, just reiterate, where can people find you on the internet?
Wandering-bird.com.
Wandering-bird.com.
Or if you type in Wandering Bird, I pretty much come up a lot. All the same on YouTube.
Got to be careful, Wandering Bird. You could light on
You
some
can
very
find on all
dodgy
sorts of weird
websites.
stuff. Yeah.
All right, one more. A round of applause. Thank you very much. Excellent. Okay. So
We did it. Finished. It actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I'll be honest, the anticipation was way worse than think. And everyone was really nice. There was a lot more people there than I was expecting. I got some great questions. Looked like some people were quite interested and engaged. So yeah, a successful round. I'll do it again.